Hello everyone. Ice Hearts continues with part 6, a little shorter part this time, but I still believe it's going to be enjoyable, and part 7 is going to come up very soon, so I hope you don't mind. A special thanks to my lovely patrons and all of you who subscribe and watch my videos. You are keeping this channel going and alive. Thank you very much, and I hope you will enjoy. It's starting to sound like some stupid Christmas movie. I'm going to get diabetes if you don't stop with all this sweetness. KyouHaba snickered and bumped his friend's shoulder. Jealous much? Tch, as if. I think you are. Wataru threw one of his shoes at him. KyouHaba laughed and dodged, seizing the shoe and holding it above his head out of Wataru's reach. The skip huffed and jumped around while trying to get his equipment back, making KyouHaba laugh even harder. He knew he shouldn't provoke their captain like this, but he was confident enough in their relationship to pull off things like this from time to time. It kept the spirits high. And it was Wataru who started it after all. He stopped teasing him after some time and gave him his shoe back, ostentatiously ignoring Wataru's quiet muttering. He changed quickly and perked up when he heard many pairs of feet stomping around the door, accompanied by the deep voices of the hockey team. Wataru elbowed him lightly into the ribs. Seems like your not so generic white male lead is here. KyouHaba threw him a warning glare, but couldn't help the stupid grin making its way to his face. He hadn't seen Kyotane since their skating date 3 days ago, as the hockey team had matches in different cities again. He peeked from the door, catching a glimpse of the bleached hair, and smiled, hearing the gruff voice telling someone off. He really missed the other man. Despite being really frowny, as Oikawa put it, he somehow managed to light up KyouHaba's day just by being around. And that warm, fuzzy feeling inside his chest he got when Kyotane touched him was also a pleasant bonus. Despite his training to split personal life from practices and keeping his head purely in game, he couldn't help but let his thoughts wander to Kyotane and their last date. He couldn't remember the last time he had such a great time with someone outside of his team. Even though Kyotane insisted there wasn't much interesting about him except for hockey, KyouHaba managed to find out quite a lot of small things about the man that only infatuated him further. That he always wanted a dog but couldn't have one because of the constant traveling. That he had those tiny rituals before every match to ensure a win. Also that his team was his second family, even though he was reluctant to admit it, which KyouHaba found really sweet. All in all, he came to the conclusion Kyotane might be built like a guard dog, but he was really a puppy deep down. A sharp snap of fingers in front of his face returned him back into reality. He smiled apologetically at his coach and prepared for his 2 throws, blocking everything but the game out of his mind. He could daydream about Kyotane later. To his own surprise, he found himself walking to the second rink after their practice ended once again. The hockey team was still on the ice, practicing shooting and possibly some game strategies KyouHaba had no idea about. He slid on the bench, watching intently as Kyotane skated forward with an amazing speed, sending a pummeling shot towards the net. Shivers ran down his spine, imagining he would have to face that as a goalie. He couldn't understand the appeal of hockey, but the fact that some of the players voluntarily got into the net and let others shoot pucks at them was just straight up weird. He's good, isn't he? KyouHaba startled, his gaze snapping to the grinning guy with big eyebrows KyouHaba had seen hanging around with Kyotane quite often. He couldn't recall his name, but judging by the way he acted, he must have been pretty important in the team. He cleared his throat. Yes, I guess he is. Not that I can judge that, of course. The guy leaned a bit closer, lowering his voice into half-inconspicuous whispering. They don't call him Mad Dog for no reason, you know. I hope he isn't going too wild on you. KyouHaba almost choked on the air, his face heating up. No offense, but that's not really your business, right? The other chuckled. None taken. I just can't help it, you know. He's a sweet guy, despite how he may seem. Just a bit socially awkward sometimes. Especially around pretty guys like you. I wanted to make sure he's doing alright. That you are both doing alright. KyouHaba let out a small, relieved breath. He was worried for a moment he was dealing with some creep, but he could appreciate care towards one's teammates. I can't speak for him, but I'm glad I met him. Really. He's been really kind the whole time. The other nodded, apparently satisfied. That's good to hear. He seems much more lively now in terms of off-ice interactions, which I always like to see. He sighed and glanced over at Kyotani. He's been putting too much into hockey and forgot to live outside of it since his dad passed. I'm glad he can now think about something else. Matsukawa, you're next. Get your ass here. The guy, Matsukawa, chuckled and nodded at KyouHaba. Nice to chat with you. Good luck with our Kyo. KyouHaba snickered, watching Kyotani throwing eye daggers at his teammate. He waved at the blonde, whose face immediately softened as he waved back. He stayed sitting on the bench for the rest of the hockey practice, following Kyotani with his eyes. He was doing great. Even his coach praised him for good work at the end, which made Kyotani beam with pride. Similar to what KyouHaba saw back on their first date when Kyotani got him the plushie. It made his heart flutter. He thought he couldn't compete with hockey in Kyotani's head, but watching Kyotani now, he might be closing up to second place. Nothing would make him happier than if that was the truth. Maybe getting on the Olympics with his team, but that was different. Their eyes locked for a moment, and KyouHaba shivered slightly under the fiery gaze. He got up and went to wait for the blonde by the exit from the rink. Matsukawa winked at him as he walked around, leaning in to whisper. He was really showing out today with you watching. Kyotani growled at him, and he quickly cleared the path, snickering quietly. Don't mind him. He just likes to push his nose into things he shouldn't. KyouHaba smiled and lightly bumped Kyotani's shoulder. I think it's nice he cares about your well-being. As if he's just nosy, that's all. KyouHaba rolled his eyes, not missing the fond look in Kyotani's eyes. He kinda wanted to poke into it a bit more, but then decided against it. Are you much tired after the practice? Kyotani raised his eyebrow. Do you have something in mind? Kinda. He shuffled his foot on the ground, his hand instinctively reaching up to tug on his hair. I was wondering if you would want to try to play with me. Kyotani grabbed his wrist, guiding it away from his hair. Play with you? In what sense? KyouHaba's face warmed up when he realized how his offer could sound. I mean curling. I didn't get to move around too much today, and I'd like to show you it's not that boring as you think it is. He was painfully aware this might not be the greatest idea for a kind of date since Kyotani seemed really fired up today, but he still wanted to try. It was just a suggestion after all, right? Nothing horrible if he refused. They could still go to that cafe. If Kyotani had time. Did he have time? He didn't even ask. Kyotani tilted his head and checked the big clock above the exit. Isn't the stadium closing in like half an hour? I have keys, and the cleaning isn't coming until 10 p.m. We have plenty of time. If you want, of course. If you have somewhere to be, it's fine. We can play another time. Or never, if it's not for you. Kyotain chuckled, and a big stone fell from KyouHaba's heart. I'd love to try playing with you, but I don't have those super slidey shoes you use. I can borrow you my spare. I think we have about the same shoe size. It should be fine. But you should probably change into something less bulky than your gear. Kyotain squeezed his hand he was still holding and motioned towards the changing rooms. Okay, give me 10 minutes. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. As I said, part 7 is going to come up very soon. Overall, I will try to go back to the re-uploads and just upload more videos from the older ones. Plus, of course, the new stuff for Nightmare November. I have Terusho and Otana prepared, and I'm kind of working on Mia Twins Angst, which is something I've never done before, so be patient, please. If you have any requests or ideas, the request form is linked in the video description. See you next time.